Good afternoon. This is Dr. Norma Thomas, and here we are at week 3 of Social Work 541. This week is on assessing communities' needs and assets. So just like we do assessments for microsystems of individuals and families in small groups, we also do assessment of larger macro issues like assessing our communities. So going to the week 3 module and starting with our introduction, the objectives for this week are as follows. To describe community problems, community needs, and community assets, and then to develop the skills needed in community assessment, including secondary analysis and community mapping. The learning resources for the week are as follows. First, start with the overview. So there is a very extensive overview for this week that has already been done for you in PowerPoint. And while that is loading, we have our community needs and assets resources, again, using the University of Kansas, the Community Toolbox, in Chapter 3, Section 1, Chapter 3, Section 7, and Chapter 3, Section 8. We have community problems through also the University of Kansas, the Community Toolbox, Chapter 17, Section 3, Chapter 3, Section 5, and Chapter 3, Section 4. And in terms of community intervention, again, using the toolbox, Chapter 18 and Chapter 19. So in terms of the PowerPoint for the week, assessing community needs and assets, we have our objectives, our overview, and then there's a lot of discussion about what is a problem and how to define the problem. And so I invite you to take a look at that. Main point to remember is when we want to examine community problems, we need to look at both the objective and subjective characteristics. This PowerPoint also provides a number of theoretical frameworks around which to examine community. So we have the functionalist perspective. We have conflict theory, value conflict theory, and feminist theory. And then we have our symbolic interactionist perspective. Labeling is a powerful aspect that we need to be very careful of, not only in terms of community, but our work with individuals and families. So, talking about issues like deviance, for example, what does deviance actually mean? So we want to be very careful about labeling. And when we work with individuals and families, it's better to think about behaviors and not to label a whole community as dysfunctional or a whole community as deviant or a whole community as if the problems of some are the problems of everybody within that community. So be careful about using labels to describe any of our client groups. And then community needs. How do you define community need? What is a need versus a want? We can look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs as one way to examine needs. We have needs that are normative, needs that are perceived, needs that are expressed, and needs that are relative. So what kind of need are we talking about? And so the definition of all those is contained. How to look at data, because that will help in how we do an analysis of our community. So please, and then there's a whole section on community needs assessment. So please take a look at this PowerPoint. It covers all aspects of working in communities, from problems to labeling to assessment, and take a look at each aspect because it will inform your work going forward. Going back to our learning resources, we have a number of supplemental readings also, some of which are from the toolbox. There is a reminder that your community need analysis is due Sunday, week 4. So please be mindful of that assignment that is due in week 4. There was an initial discussion post. And so you're going to watch your classmates' presentations in their initial post and respond to at least 2 of those classmates. Reminder that in week 2 you had your My Community in Words and Pictures assignment due, that then is going to be posted in week 3 so that others have a chance to view that video. So you're going to view that video, and then you're going to look at the post of at least one of your classmates. So the initial post is due Thursday with subsequent posts between Friday and Sunday. So you're going to discuss the similarities and differences in your posts between your community and those of your classmates. And actually this says to respond to 2 of your classmates. So this is one of the discussion posts that requires you to respond to 2 classmates and not just 1. So what do you find positive in your classmates' communities? What do you find distressing? And you want to incorporate information from the Seeking Good community and or other resources when you do your response. So this is your first discussion post and the rubric. So this is your second discussion around unmet community needs. So before completing your initial post, make sure that you complete the readings on community needs and community problems to understand the needs and issues of the community that you and your dyad or triad partners will focus on for your community needs and services assessment assignments. It's critical to gather input from community members themselves about the needs of the community. So you're going to identify potential community members who you could talk to about your selected community needs and strengths. You don't need to talk to them at this point, but you want to brainstorm possible key informants. So who are your key informants? Give the name of your community in the problem area. Again, identify 2 persons who have knowledge about the community and its problems. Develop 3 questions that you would ask each of these people. And finally, include the reasons you think these would be good key informants. So you can talk to your dyad or triad partners on this, but you are each writing your own initial post, and the questions and persons identified must be different in each partner's post. So this is not a group assignment. This is, again, an individual assignment, and you're going to respond at least to 1 of your classmates. You also have an additional discussion post on community assets. So again, before completing your initial post, make sure that you complete this week's readings on community assets and resources. All communities have strengths, and all communities have assets. And sometimes we get caught up in looking at what's wrong, but we also need to be mindful of what's positive in a community. So for your initial post, develop a list with a minimum of 5 critical pieces of information needed for an understanding of the strengths of your community. For each piece of information or variable, include a data source or methods which you will use to get this information. So at this point, you don't need to collect it, just identify it. So this is the information that you want to take into consideration. You could use the readings of the course. You don't have to include demographic information on this list of community strengths, but you want to be more specific than this. What could be possible indicators of strength in your selected community? You can consult with your dyad partner, but this is an individual assignment. So each person, or triad partner, but each person is to provide their own post. In this one, you are responding to one of your classmates. The last activity is due Thursday of week 3. So by Thursday of week 3, one member of your dyad is to send to me, your instructor, a message with the name of the community and the community problem. So the name of the community and the community problem. Again, review the definition of a community and the definition of a community problem. Based on the parameters of the assessment, the community is a place with physical boundaries, and your community problem, it should be broad enough that you can collect a good deal of data, but narrow enough that you can do your analysis within the parameters and time frame for the class. So think about a project that is real in a particular community, one of the communities that are represented in your dyad or triad, and an agreed upon problem based on the definition of a community problem. So you are going to send that name of the community and the community problem to me by Thursday of week 3. And that is all the, which are many, assignments for week 3. So you have 3 discussion posts, you have a reminder about an assignment that is due week 4, and also to get to me by Thursday of week 3, the name of the community and the identified problem that you have come up with for the analysis that you will be working on going forward in your dyads and triads. If there are any questions, please let me know as quickly as possible, and I look forward to reading all of your posts in the upcoming week. Thank you.